So yeah, last time rode through the Grand Canyon, was kind of disappointed, took a few pictures, and then I split. And we drove down, spent the night in Flagstaff, and then we kept traveling through the Coconino, down through Sedona, just south into the BLM. Spent a couple of days. One of the things about BLM land is you have to sometimes share it with cattle, and that was the case this time. And ranchers have to pay a fee to let their cattle graze on public land, but I think it's an okay trade-off. I'm not quite sure how the cattle feel about it, however. Nevertheless, it was a great spot to camp for a couple of days, and I did not need to camp in Sedona, which was probably $80 or $100 a night camping. Pretty expensive area, but the valley that I was in, just outside, just south of Sedona, was magnificent. The light was spectacular. The light that I was looking for in the Grand Canyon was all over the place all day long here. I'm sure it had something to do with the weather system that was just kind of hanging in the air and kind of blowing across the plains here. But I guess it may have had just as much to do with the immense colors in this area. Your greens, your reds, your browns, your light green, dark green, it was all there. And then we had this moonrise that was unbelievable. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Anyway, crashed out the next morning. I got on the bike and did some riding. Oh, there's a real shocker. So maybe this is a good time to talk about dual sporting and motorcycles in general. One of the main reasons I'm doing what I'm doing, this 3-year adventure across America, is so I can find new places to ride my motorcycle. Motorcycling has been a big part of my life for the last 40 plus years, and my first motorcycle was a dual sport motorcycle. And dual sport, for those of you who don't know, it's basically a street that you can ride, or a motorcycle that you can ride on the street and in the dirt. Usually you get one or the other. Knobby tires don't usually translate well to the street, and street tires don't really translate well to the dirt, and traction is always an issue. But a dual sport motorcycle is a little bit of both. A jack of all motorcycles and a master of none, really. It's really good at nothing but great at everything. So, but that's why I ride dual sport, and I'll probably talk more about that in the future. Just to let you know, that's why I show so much dual sporting, because it's a big part of my life. That's really why I'm here. Stopped here because I saw some I think I was navigating actually, and I saw some Jeeps on the other side of this valley, and I figured I would wait for them to crawl up, since I would have to pass them probably on a nasty gnarly uphill like they're trying to go up right now. And Jeeps are not really fun to meet or try to pass, but these folks were just fine. This was a tour company, and these Jeeps were everywhere out here. These little pink Jeeps, I guess they're painted them pink so they would be less non-threatening for the women, because sometimes women don't want to go in the mud and the hills but you paint the Jeep pink, and how bad could it be, right? I think it's a brilliant marketing idea. But like I said, they were everywhere, and everybody looked like they were having fun. And there was a family in the Jeep, and then there was 2 or 3 people, but I saw these guys everywhere. They were all over the place, and the big excitement for me was to seeing Jeeps on the trails that I'm riding. I know it's probably going to be something good, because most of the time you don't see Jeeps just running down a flat dirt road. You see them in the exciting places, and this was pretty exciting. I mean, it's not really that technical, but you can see I'm rolling down this hill with the engine off, which you don't really need power to go down. You just need a lot of brakes. And sometimes if you kick the bike into gear and just pull the clutch in, you can have a brake on the rear without having to put your right foot on the brake that's on the motorcycle. So you can brake with your clutch. In other words, brake with two hands instead of a foot, just in case you need your right foot when it starts sliding sideways. Anyway, it's a little dirt riding technique that I'm sure none of you give a damn about. But like I'm trying to explain, I'm really into the whole dual sporting thing. I think it's a fantastic way to travel. Number one, and I would be riding around the world on a motorcycle, except after about a month it gets really difficult, because you always want something that you don't have, that you left at the house, that you can't carry on your bike. But having the bus to be able to load my bike up into and have basically my whole house just a few miles away allows me to explore everything I've ever wanted to explore practically, and be able to load my bike up at the end of the day and go somewhere else, or just load my bike up, or just park my bike outside of my house in these extraordinary environments and sit out and drink a beer at the end of the night. And the bus and the dual sport has allowed me to do that, and that's why I try to talk to people that are interested in motorcycles. I try to talk to everyone about dual sports. It's the perfect bike to start out on. It's the perfect bike to transition to. You know, if you're a street rider, if you're riding some kind of other bike and you want something really, really interesting to do, dirt is great. But dirt is limited to, you know, if you have a dirt bike, you don't have a tag on it, you don't have a street legal dirt bike, then you can't really ride it anywhere except trails like this, off-road. But a dual sport, you can do all of the above. And it's starting to get kind of tricky here, and I was afraid that this is where I was going to pass those Jeeps on tricky stuff like this while they were going down. So, of course, they were always going to have the best part of the trail, so I would have to climb up the vertical rocks while they were crawling down the nice, flatter, smoother sections. But, I mean, I'm having trouble here all by my lonesome with no other excuses except my lack of ability to climb hills. That's why I waited for them to come through. But anyway, back to dual sporting as a method of travel. There's nothing quite like them. And you know, if you're going to put 500, 1,000 miles on your bike every day, then they're probably not the best thing. But if you want to take a motorcycle along with you to, you know, mine's a grocery getter too. You know, I park somewhere, and rather than take the bus into town to get groceries, I'll take the motorcycle, and it's perfect. Just throw some saddlebags over the bike and take the bike into town and get whatever I need other than water. You know, fill my water tanks. I have to drive the bus in, but usually I've got a week or so in the wilderness. But the bike works out fine for exploring. I mean, I've got limited mobility with my ankle. I've got some injuries that prevent me from doing long distance hiking, which I love to do. I just can't really do it safely and be able to get back comfortably to, you know, where I started from. So believe it or not, the bike's a more reasonable, logical method of travel rather than my feet, even though it's not better exercise. It's good exercise, it's just not as good as hiking. But it's fantastic because my range, I can put on 30, 40, 50, 100, 150 miles a day in the woods, where there's absolutely no way I would be able to do that anywhere close, even with a good, healthy skeleton. But anyway, that's my pitch for dual sports. And here I'm trying to figure out where I'm at, where I'm going. It's all about navigation all the time and keeping fluids in you. And here's another pink Jeep, and like I said, they're just everywhere. These guys are killing it. They are absolutely killing. This is winter. This is almost December, and I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. Well, it's not really not in the middle of nowhere. It's Sedona. You know, it's a very, very big tourist town, but obviously they've got a lot to see out here. I'm on the fringes of what's going on in Sedona, so I can imagine what else is around here. I know that driving down through Flagstaff, it was amazing driving from Flagstaff to Sedona and then coming south from Sedona. It's even almost as nice, but it's just beautiful. Forest dropping down through the hills from Flagstaff. Beautiful. And I need to go back someday and explore all that, but doing a little bit of navigation. There's number 6 pink Jeep over there. And I'm trying to find the Native American ruins, and that's what I'm trying to do now, and I'm having trouble finding it, so I pull out the real navigation device, the smartphone, and try to find Palatki ruins. That's where I'm headed next, and as soon as I get through doing this, I'm going to go check out Palatki and see. I love the idea of archaeology. I don't get to spend much time doing it because it's mostly illegal. But you can travel to some of these places and see what history leaves you as far as culture, and this was a pretty fascinating place. Even though I learned as I got here that you really have to make an appointment if you want to go and see the really good stuff. All I got to see was what they found pity on me and said, "Oh, you can just go up there and see Charles." There's a bunch of volunteers around here, and this is somebody else's picture of what I missed on the tour. I think the tour is about an hour and a half, and this guy led me up the hill to see the spot that I could see in 30 minutes. But it's 4-hour wait for an hour and a half tour. Anyway, this is an interesting spot.
They're a special place for humans over the last thousands of years, many thousands of years, okay? Acoustically, this place is special. Because when you pulled up here, you probably could hear me talking.
No.
All right, what?
I'm kind of deaf, though.
Oh, well, anyway.
And of course, the place was covered in petroglyphs, the rock art that's carved on a lot of ancient cultural rocks. And that's one of the things that I've discovered about the Southwest is petroglyphs are pretty much everywhere. You can find a lot of the petroglyph spots, and you'll be shocked. You just be riding down the road, and you'll see something like this on the side of the road. Most of them aren't protected as well as these are. And here's some more ruins. One of the crappy pictures that I took doesn't really show you that much, but pretty interesting. I would recommend a visit to Palatki. And here I am about to pull into my BLM camping. Just a little cow gate right here as you pull in, and just nondescript. You just got to know where this stuff is. There are some resources out there to find where BLM is, but it's pretty much, if it doesn't have a fence around it, it's probably going to be BLM if it's in Arizona or Nevada or a lot of Utah. And over to the left, you kind of see my bus as I'm going up. And I just decided to keep riding because there's a beautiful hill up here, and I just wanted to go up to see where these trails go and who else was up here. I knew there was a couple of other people up here camping, and I just wanted to check everything out before I ended it for the day, since I did have a little bit more sunlight. And these cactus, golly, they're everywhere, and the dude even fell into one of the cactus. He got something in his foot, and he's kind of crippled anyway, but he kind of got stuck on the foot, and he just fell into a bunch of cactus, so I spent an hour pulling needles out of him, poor guy. But anyway, the cactus are everywhere up here. It's kind of interesting, but as soon as I got up here and saw this point, I realized that I needed to make sure after I left here, I needed to set the camera up and make sure to capture some of this amazing clouds that were rolling in. Looked like a big storm was rolling in. It never rained, but it's very dry out here. And it's just shockingly beautiful. The colors and the ability to see as far as you can see. It's kind of hard to see like this. Like I said before, in the South, it's so humid you can't see for miles like you can here. And everything's crisp and clear and beautiful. And this is almost December. It's just amazing how much beauty is out here, despite how deserty it is. And this is about the point where I started turning and realizing how beautiful the desert was. Before, I was never a big fan of the desert, never really wanted to visit the desert, had no desire, but this is about the time I started realizing that the beauty was out here. Here's one of my neighbors. I think there was 2 or 3 people parked out here, and probably, 100, 150, 200 acres on top of this hill. But I don't even know if they were there. Their rig was parked there, so maybe they were like me. They pull out the scooter or whatever, their car, and go into Sedona or do their exploring thing like I do typically every day. Anyway, long hard day of riding. Was good to get in, pull out a chair and a beer and enjoy the sun as the sun went down and the light exploded all over the hillsides like I had never seen before. I call it the magical light of Sedona. It's very impressive. So join us next time as we head south into the Sonoran Desert and meet up with a YouTube guy that loves to motorcycle around the entire state of Arizona. And he leads us into old mining ruins and tunnels and all kinds of interesting things. So if you haven't subscribed yet, click the subscribe button. And once you do that, you can click this bell to get notifications every time a new video comes out. So click subscribe and hit the notification bell, and I will see you on the next video.